everybody. Welcome back to the Jury House podcast. I'm Noah Massey,
And I'm Jimmy L.
and we are here to talk about the final two episodes of Big Brother 3. But before we do that, we are honored to have a special guest with us today. Jimmy, do you want to do the honors?
Absolutely. So the person that actually brought Big Brother to me is my hubby, and so he's kind of been watching in and out the show through this particular season, and so Noah thought it was a great idea, and I agreed to have him to come on to kind of wrap up this entire season. He's a huge fan of Big Brother, but I definitely want to welcome my hubby Winston. Welcome.
Thank you, thank you. I'll just say I cast my vote to keep Jimmy based on that pitch, that introduction. I genuinely appreciate that. But yeah, it's crazy. I don't you did had you ever seen Big Brother before I brought it to you? Had you heard of
No,
it? Yeah.
no. I don't think I've heard of it prior to.
So,
Yeah.
So Winston, what was the first season that you watched?
um, that I watched, I think live was probably five, because I think
Okay.
was because six was that was Janelle and Kaser's first season, right?
Yep.
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 So I remember kind of being more into it in their season, and I think the season before that is the one that I kind of like caught into. So I had actually never seen this season. I had only ever kind of like read about it, kind of known about things, some of the changes and things that come because of it. So but I never actually like watched it. So this has been really fun to like come in and out. So really excited to be here. Thank you guys just for having me. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I have been telling Jimmy since the beginning that this is probably my favorite season of the show. There's just something about this particular season where I feel like they just kind of got lightning in a bottle here with the cast, and the strategy is something that has always really interested me about this season, and definitely the ending to this season is one
Woo!
that oh boy,
Yeah.
oh boy, I don't know that anybody could have predicted it going this way exactly. And so,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know, let's get into it. I guess we'll start here with episode 32. When we last left off, we had said goodbye to Amy for the final time, and we started the first part of the final HOH. So we've got our final three here in a pool, and there is this key wheel box that they are having to hold on to their keys in this pool as rain is coming down upon them, and that is where we open up this episode. We have Jason opening the episode here, kind of talking about how he misses Amy, but it was the right choice. She's an amazing competitor. It was just a decision of who he felt would have a better chance of winning against when it comes to the games. I think as we kind of go on here, I don't know necessarily even more now that it was a smart decision to get rid of Amy. What do you think?
I don't know. First I gotta say this HOH comp, I love it. I don't know if they've ever brought it back, but I genuinely love the actual setup of this comp. But back to the Amy piece. I don't know if and you're talking about who? Like, you're saying if Danielle kept Amy, or are you talking about Jason keeps Amy? Like, I guess it depends on who you're saying keeps Amy.
That is a good point, because I do think there's probably a different answer for both of these two.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think for Jason, this was probably not the greatest situation, not the greatest choice to make.
Yes, for Jason, I think this is where Jason loses the season.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh
This
yeah.
is by getting rid of Amy because, and it was weird because I think he said his reasoning was Amy has won comp, so he felt like she might have a better chance of like beating. I feel like that was something somebody said in the
Yeah.
episode. I'm pretty sure, and he'd have a better chance of like beating Lisa, but like that's not what happens, and I'm just like, sir. So I do
But
think this is
Jason
where
was
his game died.
blinded. Jason was blinded completely. Like he was 100% just Team Danielle. Like he didn't care. I don't think it mattered to him one way or the other whether it was Lisa or Amy. You know, like
Yeah.
I don't think he gave it a second thought.
And I do think there is some truth to that because I believe in the last episode he was saying in the DR like whatever happens, like if I don't win that final HOH, I'm going to make sure that whoever stays in the game here is the person that takes Danielle to the final two.
He did say
And
that.
so I agree with both of you there. You know, I think what happened is that Amy went on a little bit of a streak with competitions here, but it wasn't anything crazy. I remember there was, a couple POVs she won. There was that one where she may have won. Oh, that's it. I think it was one of the luxury
Yeah.
competitions
Uh
that
huh.
she won.
Uh huh.
So I
And the
think it's
balancing thing. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
right. Yeah, I think it's just one of those things where it's kind of like recency bias. So like
Mm-hmm.
it's
Mm-hmm.
in his mind fresh. Like, oh, she's been someone that's been winning a lot recently. And to his defense, I do think that, you know, Lisa really had not been too impressive this season in terms
At
of competition
all.
wins. And you
At
would think
all.
she would be.
Yeah, yeah. I don't
Yeah.
know. I do want to go back for one
Yep,
second, and I got
yep,
to say this quickly because I'm shocked that Winston said this. But I did not think we were going to agree on anything, mind you. But this particular competition, the endurance competition, and Noe and I talked about it at the end of the last episode. I loved this competition. And so
Yeah.
just to kind of see them shivering and just like all of the intensity behind it,
Yeah.
it was freaking like that. I feel like this season needed a lot more of that. So I just had to point it out. Like I really enjoyed this.
Yes.
I I agree with both of you because so I was thinking, we have talked a lot about this season where with the competitions they just kind of yada yada their way through them and it's over in
Hmm.
like 5 minutes.
Yep.
They don't present it as a big thing on the show in this season, but with this one, it only goes on the show for like 8 minutes in terms of runtime, but they really, like you said, present it as this big thing and give you this tension here. And I really thought that, I liked seeing like Danielle really just like shivering
Mhm.
from the rain. Cause
Yeah.
I was thinking too, like they're just sitting in a pool
Yeah.
like for hours
Four
and
hours.
4 hours, yeah. And, but like just sitting stationary and having this rainwater pouring down on you,
Mhm.
that's going to get you a lot colder, a lot faster
Yeah.
Mhm.
than like if you're like moving your body. They have a similar competition in another season when they are actually moving, but they have that similar rainwater
Hmm.
coming down on them. And so
Mhm.
that one is a very intense competition, goes a lot longer than this one, but they at least had the benefit of getting to move their bodies around a little bit. And here they just have to basically
Sit.
suffer for
Mhm.
Yeah.
4.5 hours. So,
Yeah. And to say, because for me, it's like we know, at least there's been a lot of like, just over the years there's been a lot of pushback from the fan base over the amount of physical competitions and how intense and how over the top and like how much we see them. But like this was kind of like this, that's why I was like, I love this. I don't know if they brought it back, they should. It's so simple, and it's a great physical comp that's just so simple. It's so easy to execute, and like you said, you get so much out of it. Like we got, this was like peak Big Brother. I mean, you got like you said, you got the shaking, you got kind of like this physicality of it, you got the goofiness of Jason like taking his hand off. You get
Oh
the
yeah.
deal, right? Like you get the deal that comes in. It's everything you could want from a peak Big Brother moment. And so I'm just like, this is so good. But to go back to the Amy of it all,
Yeah,
I I would just say for me, I understand. Like totally agree. I think it's recency bias, and I think it's also a different perspective because we're not in the house, we're not playing the game, we're binging it all. But I think everything about Amy that I've seen, just I 100% believe that she would have gone into the final HOH competitions and she would have folded. Like
Yeah.
she would have made a deal with Jason. She would have made like I
yeah,
she's so, I don't want to use the term desperate, but in this season of her life, she
yeah,
is she is very much wanting to be picked. You know, she's
yeah,
very much a pick me, and this time and season of her life, that I think that if he kept laying that charm on and if he had taken her, I think he would have. I think Jason would have won no matter what had he gone to the final. Honestly,
yeah,
truly,
yeah.
he would have won. But he could have made a deal with Amy, and I think he would. That would have been his most assured win. I think it goes like he beats Lisa clean sweep. He beats Amy clean sweep. I mean, I think he even beats Danielle clean sweep. I generally think that I
Mm,
think not getting to final two is really what killed him. And not getting rid of Lisa in this instance, I think it's so sad because I realize we don't have America's favorite player at this point.
He
And
would have
so
gotten it.
he would have got. I was like, Jason's running the perfect
mm,
campaign for miscongeniality in this house,
yeah. Yeah.
and
Yeah. Mm,
but I think this was like just after the fact, after we finished, I was just like, that was his downfall, not taking Amy. Like it really was. It was
mm,
just such a sad miscalculation, but you
sad.
know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and but also I think even from Danielle's perspective, I said earlier that maybe there's different choices for both of them here. Honestly, she should have also wanted Amy at the end there. I understand why she didn't want to be in the final two with Amy, but it's kind of a situation to me where it's like I'd rather take the risk. I'd rather
Mhm.
take the risk and hope that people are more put off by Amy than they are by me. It's
Yeah.
just kind of a no brainer for me. I think ego was a little bit in play there.
I think
Mm,
you're right.
mm,
Actually, I think you're absolutely, because I was thinking about it. Like there are so many people on the jury. I mean, I guess all the former house guests can call them jury, but like we know that they all have kind of like ill will towards Amy. Like a lot of the ladies on the cast weren't particularly her biggest fans. So yeah, I think you're right. I think Danielle probably would have had honestly a really good chance taking Amy to the end too. So yeah, interesting to think about.
Yes, yes, it really is. So we have a situation where we have Danielle and Lisa in this pool, and they're the final two here, and Danielle is just really trying to pump herself up. Lisa very much sees it as, oh, Danielle's like trying to psych me out here, and even in the DR, she's saying, "Oh, I think her shaking is all an act."
she
She,
did.
ever since that Marcellus eviction, she's just not got a good taste in her mouth about Danielle here.
Mhm.
She's starting to think that she brought Dr. Will this far. So we have them in there for at least 3.5 hours, and then it finally gets to the point where Lisa is starting to be like, all right, when's the point where I have to start like making deals here? And we finally get that moment where Lisa is like, all right, Danielle, I can promise you that I will take you to the end, and you can promise me that you'll take me to the end. Can we work something out here? And Danielle ultimately agrees to that
Mhm.
deal. This has kind of been the season of deals, so it's kind of like if you can get someone to agree to something, then you're hoping that their word is their bond here. But this is another moment where I'm kind of seeing Danielle drop the ball here, and
Yeah.
she should have kept her hand on that key. I don't
Mhm.
I don't know how you can last for 4.5 hours, know that your ally is on the line here,
Mhm.
your game is on the line here after everything you've done for 80 some days, and you're going to take your hand off the key. That is one thing that I think, just as much as Jason making the couple mistakes he's made so far at the end game here, I see this as a big one that Danielle makes.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'll say differently. I don't know if it's a mistake she made.
Okay.
I think she stated, or at least the editing stated, right, very clearly that her goal was to go to final two,
Sure.
right?
Mm.
And at the end of
Mm.
the day, I think in that moment, she had a moment of weakness where she saw that at the end of the day, she could take care of herself and put herself in the final two, like for sure with Lisa. And I think that she regretted making that decision. I think as soon
She
as it
said it. Yeah.
happened, I
She
think
did.
she felt guilty about it because I think at the end of the day, it's what she wanted to do because she said she wouldn't do a thing differently. So I won't even say that she regretted it. I think she felt guilty. I think guilt and regret might be two different things, but I think she felt guilty, but I don't know if it was a mistake on her end. I think if that was her goal to ensure herself final two, and I also think she wanted to get some of the pressure off of herself. Like I don't know if push came to shove if she would have taken Jason to final two.
Mm.
I
I
just
mean,
I don't
Mm.
know. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know.
Oh,
And
wow.
I could
wow.
see her I could see her and maybe I got too much Lisa on the brain, but I could see her kind of throwing this because then she gets out of having to like really make the decision. Because even
About Jason.
about Jason,
Her. Mm.
because I think at the end of the day, she's done diabolical things, right? Like that's what she's saying, and I
Mhm.
think
That
she
was what she
knows up
said.
against Jason, there's just no way. So like I think in the back of her mind, she had a moment of if I really take Jason, which I think she,
Wow.
again, I don't know. I don't know. I would say I don't know if it's a mistake on her,
Oh.
and I think if her goal was to get to final two, I think it was a smart move. I mean, it just. I don't know if there was a way she could have won at all, like I said, after Amy, and I think she's smart enough to realize that, and I think she just didn't want that pressure of taking Jason. But I don't know, man.
Wow.
What do you think, Jimmy?
I was gonna say I do understand that, and I partially want to agree with that, with the exception of I think she would have taken Jason no matter what. I think that bond with her and Jason, I truly, in my heart of hearts, I really think that was a true bond that was surpassed everything else that was going on with her internally, and that she would have taken him. However, I do understand what you mean in regards to her and not necessarily regretting letting go. Because at the end of the day, I truly think that she never thought in a million years, even if she did go up against Lisa, that she would lose. I think, and I almost want to call it delusion, but I really believe that she was delusional enough to know or to believe that she would not have lost against Lisa. And so she probably really didn't have anything in her mind to lose. It's my thoughts on that.
Well, and to I can see that because to bring back up recency bias, we just saw someone who in the last season make it to the end and win, who had done some
Mm-hmm.
pretty diabolical things, right? And so I
Mm-hmm.
think I think you might be onto something. I think maybe she just thought we've seen somebody get rewarded for doing what
Mm-hmm.
I've done. So like, there's
Mm-hmm.
no way in the world they're gonna Lisa,
Like, yeah.
Lisa. So I can see that too. I can see that too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like the truth is probably somewhere in the middle. I do think that Jimmy is correct in maybe there's a bit of delusion of there's no way that
There's
I'm
no
gonna
way. No
gonna
way.
lose against Lisa, you know. But I do think, Winston, that this could be an instance of Danielle kind of on autopilot, kind of taking her foot off the gas a little bit, kind of in a situation where it's like, if she gets to the final two, she knows she's going to take Jason. She knows that she's going to lose to Jason. So if she just kind of takes her foot off the gas a little bit here and
Mhm.
gives someone else the opportunity to take
Okay.
him out, then her
Mhm.
hands are kind of
Like, it's
clean
just
here.
clean.
She
Yeah.
doesn't have to deal with the guilt. But I do think that we see right after she makes that decision that she kind of realizes what she just did, and that's why we see immediately afterward when Danielle and Jason are having that conversation in the map room where she's like, yeah, so this is kind of the deal that I made with Lisa, and I'm really sorry about that, but
Yeah.
yeah, this is what I did. Oops.
Yes, but I
So
will say I love that she did that. I love that she
Yeah.
went to him and told him. I do think, like you said, I think there was a true bond there. So I love that she went and told him, but it's also like he would have found out anyway. So,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
right,
Yeah.
right.
And that is true.
so,
That is true.
Yeah,
That is true.
yeah, and I think it does, like you say, immediately kind of show their bond there. They have been attached at the hip throughout this game. So
Mm-hmm.
I
Mm-hmm.
do think she is telling him this more out of feeling kind of indebted to him and feeling
Mm-hmm.
that guilt than anything. So we have Lisa winning part one here, which leaves Danielle and Jason to compete in part two of the final HOH here. So we have an interesting competition where Jason and Danielle have to run around the house and do 6 different tasks that they have to complete within 7 minutes. And so I'll just run through the tasks really quickly here. So the first one is that they have to go to the memory wall and put the evicted house guests in the order they were evicted. After they have done that, they have to go outside and wash a towel, and then they have to dry it in the dryer. And once they've done that, they have to go back into the house, into the kitchen, make a PB&J and eat it. And then once they have done that, they have to put in chronological order the house guests that won the POV. And then, oh my God, did I not put the last two in? I don't think that I did.
that's
I was like, because I
So,
did not write the counts down.
okay, so
I was like, I
I don't
definitely
really
don't
think,
remember. I was like, oh, I didn't write it down.
oh boy, it's the last episode. I got a little lazy there, but what do we think of this competition?
I was not a fan.
I was gonna say,
Okay,
yeah.
yeah, I was not a fan of this competition at all. It was too much going on. It was just ridiculous. And even I don't know. It was just silly to me. It was just silly to me. I understand. I get the idea of having a couple of multiple competitions and you guys kind of duke it out to get to see who gets to the end. The overall concept, I understand, and you're trying to quickly put something together for them to do. But the competition itself, it was just it served no purpose for me.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely felt quickly put together. I was like, oh, we put all of our minuscule budget into the pool, so um, we are going
Jesus.
to
Get
we are
use out
going
of it.
to like it just I mean, it was fine, like it was fine. Not something I would be like do again. Unfortunately, we get variations of this. I think for forever, there's always going to be some sort of like do some task in the house kind of like comp, but like this was just nah. Especially just because of the actual task themselves. I'm like, what is this? But
Right.
you
Yeah.
know,
Yeah. Yeah, so I will say, so part one and part two of the final HOH are holdovers from Big Brother 2. We
okay,
see different variations of in Big Brother 2, part one, they're lying in a bed together and they have to hold on to the key in the box. And then in part two, they have a similar thing where they're doing different household chores around the house. And they didn't have the veto in Big Brother 2, so they don't, I think, have these like put the house guests in order of who got evicted, or stuff like that we do see in later seasons of Big Brother, so they have changed it up a little bit here.
hmm.
I really like this competition, actually.
Oh, okay, okay, all right. No judgment,
I was
no
gonna say you should have
judgment.
went first. You should have went
Yeah,
first.
you should have went first. We're like, it's terrible, and he's like, I like it. Yeah.
You know what? This has been happening all season. I let Jimmy talk about how much he hates
Yeah.
certain aspects, and then I'm like, well, actually, I love this.
Well, all right.
So I don't know. There's just something. It's very like DIY. Just like something. Like it's very stupid, but I like how simple it is, and they just kind of threw it together, and I do like the fact that like anyone could potentially take this competition. We get so many, going back to what you were saying earlier about fans complaining about physical competitions in Big Brother. I'm one of those people, and so I I don't know. I like that it's a bit more equal here, and it's just the most random stuff
Yeah.
that like make a peanut butter and jelly sandwich and eat it. Like I'm wondering if there were certain rules about how much peanut butter and how much jelly had to be on each slice of the bread, and I'm sure they did not give it that much thought, but it is funny to think about. So
Well, it
you
looked
know,
like Jason used a whole lot because he had to wipe his on the back of his shirt, and I
He
just kept seeing like
did.
peanut butter
Yeah.
handprints everywhere, and I was like, how much peanut butter did he use?
so ultimately we get Jason winning this competition. Moving on to part three here, but before we get to part three, we get to go back to the studio as Julie Chen Moonves is here to interview the house guests. So she doesn't ask them a whole lot here. She just, asks them how it was doing that HOH competition. And then she asks Jason and Lisa if they are prepared to make the decision based on who wins this competition. And so I did think it was a little bit interesting that like both of them were kind of just
Like ready to
yeah, they were ready to
just
make that decision. I was
yeah.
wondering if there was any like last minute mental warfare that they were trying to like get in Lisa's head a little bit there. I
Mm.
do know from the live feeds a little bit that they had kind of talked about maybe kind of getting in her head a little bit. They had I know there was at least a conversation where Jason was like, "Hey, maybe you want to throw part 2 to me, so that if, you end up winning part 2, you're not in a position where you have to make that decision and evict Lisa, because Danielle did say that she would make that choice. She would go against the deal that she originally made. And so, I don't know if there was a little bit of mental warfare going on there, but we get this third part of the final HOH here, and it is basically a situation where they are made to answer different questions about things that the evicted house guests said about them, and they have to match what was said to the correct person that thing was said about. And so, was there anything here that stood out to either of you
In regards to the comments or
in regards to the competition in general? Anything regarding the questions and the answers?
for me, the questions I would say no, but the only thing that stood out to me was just watching Danielle's face, like in the
Oh
back.
yeah, yeah.
Oh, like she was hot. Like she was really like visually, like visibly frustrated. So other than that, that's about it. Everything else I think was fair game. I think they did the best that they could, and I didn't even actually mind this competition. That was simple, straight to the point. Hold this up and move on. So yeah, it was okay for me.
So I loved it, no notes. And I personally will say this is where I started to soften a bit on Lisa,
You did,
because
yeah.
I realized that while she's been a little bit of a non-entity, she's obviously been very observant, because
Right.
she was doing very well and she understood, because they were saying these comments about the three of them that were still left in the house. So she understood the mindsets of all of her competitors. Like,
Hmm.
and even when she heard something about herself that she probably felt some type of way about, she still knew that they said it about her. So I'm
Yeah.
like, the fact that she was that self-aware of what people's perceptions of her were, and the fact that she also was that aware of what people's perceptions about other people were, I was just like, she's a lot smarter than I think the edit has given her credit for. And so that's when I started to kind of soften a bit on her, to kind of be like, okay, I see you. Like, it's a little late. Like, thanks for showing up to the party, New Year's Eve party at 11:59:59 and saying Happy New Year. Thank you for that. We appreciate your presence. But I don't know. This is where I started to soften on her a bit, because I thought the comments were great, because again, you spent a whole summer with these people. This is a great way to see how well you know them, like what they would have said about you. And then you also understand what the perceptions of the house, which means you've been very intuitive this whole time. And so again, this is where I started to soften on her, and where I kind of realized that Jason has really just kind of been, and not say floating, but he really has been floating a lot on his charm. Like, people more so gravitate towards Jason because he's sweet, whereas Lisa has had to do probably a little bit more work to be around these people and be a little bit more observant, and kind of, roll with things. Because honestly, they're two sides of the same coin. To kind of go back to what you were saying earlier when Julie asked them about, like, were they prepared for, what may come next if one of them wins, and they both kind of are like, yeah, I'm prepared. They both have been quote unquote playing an honest game this whole time. So there's no point in sitting here and lying, or trying to be like, because I feel like Danielle would give Julie a non-answer in that situation, like Danielle does. Danielle's very good at giving a non-answer. Like when they were in the pool and she was making the deal, she's like, "Do you have a final two with Jason?" And she's not answering her, right? But they're both just kind of like, yeah, I'm prepared to do that. And I really think they're both playing the same game. Like, truly, they were like, I want to get to the end by playing an honest game. I want people to like me. I want to be kind. I'm going to be sweet. And so, again, I thought it was a great final competition, because it really was like watching. Now at this point, like for me, they were pretty evenly yoked. So like seeing Lisa kind of eke that out, I was like, okay, maybe she is a little bit better at this game than I thought. So
Wow, that's a really good perspective about
Yeah,
Lisa. Wow.
it, to be honest, I wasn't even really thinking of that as I was watching that competition. But you make a great point. Like, she takes the lead pretty dang quickly. Like, she
Hmm.
kind of leaves Jason in the dust there, and it when you were saying that, it kind of brought me back to the final HOH competition between Steve and Vanessa in Big Brother 17,
Mm-hmm.
where you have Vanessa, who has been this absolute strategic powerhouse all season, and she very handily loses that competition to Steve, who everyone had counted out that entire season, but you realize just how intuitive and how close he really was to other people, that he understands, because it's a similar competition of what did these people say, and he is right on the money there. And so I think that that is a very poignant point about the trajectory that Lisa has had to go through throughout the season, because she, even though she doesn't understand the strategy game maybe and like the optimal move to make, she absolutely understands, like you said, the perspective of the jury, where as we go on through this as we go on through the next episode, she absolutely knows how to play to the jury there. And so that is a very interesting perspective there. So ultimately, we have Lisa win this competition, and this is where the dynamic duo, the Secret Alliance, is broken up here as Lisa evicts Jason. It is a very tearful goodbye from all parties involved here, and is a very emotional, probably one of the most emotional evictions, I would say, throughout this entire season here. So and I think what's interesting too is, like, this is the first time Lisa has had power in weeks. I think maybe she won like one veto, but this
Well, I
is
mean, was it Vita? I knew she won. She won HOH.
That's the first HOH,
well,
The
right?
she
first
won the first HOH, but I thought she did end up winning like
Vita.
a veto in the middle portion of the game at some point. I could
Okay.
be
I don't.
misremembering, but either way, she has not held power for a long time here. So now for it to be kind of thrust in her hands here, she's kind of getting a taste of what the rest of the house guests have been dealing with the entire game. But, so we get Jason going out to talk to Julie Chen, and he's all smiles. He's got a really good perspective on everything and the way that he played the game. He doesn't blame Danielle for making the deal that she made. He knows it was up to him to win this competition. Ultimately, he could not do that, and so that is why he is in the spot that he is in here. So that is basically where we leave this episode. We get a little bit of Danielle and Lisa talking as we end the episode here, and that kind of follows into what we see at the beginning of the finale episode here, as Danielle makes a very interesting choice in that she decides that it is time to come clean about everything that she has done throughout the season. What do we think about this?
I think it was jury management.
For
Uh,
who?
Yeah,
Cause like this is all like I think it was jury management for Danielle. I think it was Danielle's attempt at a Hail Mary because they could still see feeds, right? So they could
true,
still
true.
see, and like they could be on the internet, they could be watching, and they could see her making this. I've done diabolical things, but like she's owning up to it. Like I generally think it was. I it just because at the end of the day, you're telling me you've done diabolical things, but then you're like, I would do it again, and I don't. regret it. And so it's like, well, what was all this for then? You're just explaining yourself to explain yourself. You're not. That's never been on your mind before. And it's not on your mind now. The only other thing I would chalk it up to is it was just an absolute moment of overcome emotion. I think maybe she was just grateful that Lisa held up her end of the bargain, and she felt like she owed her something in return. And maybe that's what that is. But at the end of the day, to me, it just felt a little bit more like I need to start doing some image rehab now.
So I of course don't agree with that. I do not think
Yeah.
the jury was on her mind at all. I do agree with you in regards to the emotions. Her emotions probably were there, and just like, let me just get this off my chest and let you know what, because I'm feeling guilty by all of the stuff that I've done, But here it is, like, this is what I've done. You didn't know I did it all. I will say what pissed me off about the conversation is Lisa was sitting there playing like she knew that these
Yeah.
things were going. Like, girl, stop. You didn't have a damn clue what the hell was going on. You had no clue at all about any of that. And so I don't think it was necessary. Like, Danielle could have just kept your mouth shut. Like, girl, we made it to the final two. Like, let's, girl power, whatever, and you could have left it at that. And then the final thing I wanted to say, and going back to Lisa, is this was probably one of the most strategic moves that she could have done for herself. And at first I didn't get it. I did not understand it. But taking Jason,
Hmm.
whom everybody loves, and you literally sat and have been dormant this entire time, you have no way. You have no way to go up against him. And so I know Winston is saying that it was to honor the commitment that she had or the deal that she had with Danielle. I really don't think that's what it was. I really think she had a wake up call to say, I really cannot be Jason. And so I
Yeah.
think that's why she made the choice.
No, I would agree with
Yeah.
that. That's what I'm saying. I think again, like Noah was saying, I think she to the point of Steve, right? Like we brought up Steve and Vanessa. I
Okay, first off,
generally
I have no idea who the hell Steve and Vanessa is. You guys are sitting here like I'm supposed to know these
so
people.
here's the thing. It's like the way your jaw dropped about this season. That was Steve and Vanessa. Like that is like Vanessa is one of the ones where you're just like, damn.
Yeah,
At least in
yeah.
my opinion, I'm not. For
Yeah.
me, I'm just like,
100%.
so I would say like I agree with you. I do think that Lisa was more in tune with the jury. I think she was more in tune with the
Mm,
house, and
mhm,
I think she knew, and I think she was set up in a perfect position. Like by Jason getting knocked out of that comp early in the first HOH,
mhm.
it really opened her up. But the fact that she was smart enough to know this is my opportunity to make a deal. This is my opportunity to grab. That's I'm like you see her start to peek out of here. She really is a true floater, literally floating in the pool. She's literally a true floater that wakes up, and
That was
um,
unnecessary.
well, because I generally because I think that Jason could have lasted a lot longer in that competition today
Yes.
because
Yeah, it was like 45 minutes.
well,
Yeah.
Eh, I
in
was
this
so surprised.
I think he was so comfortable, like he zoned
Mm,
out. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
he
yeah.
was so at
mhm.
ease, whereas like everybody else was probably like struggling a little bit at that point, or at least Danielle was. I think that's the real tea of it all. Is I think Jason was so comfortable and so in tune that he had just zoned out, and so he
Mhm.
got woken up by that rain,
Wow.
and it caused him to jump. But I like you said, I think that rain messed him up. But I think he could have lasted a hell of a lot
Yeah.
longer had he not. And so I just think it was the perfect storm of a situation for her that like you're probably right. She knew that she had to take Danielle over Jason because again I think they were playing two sides of the same coin.
Yeah, he deserves.
Um, but I think that Jason is more liked, right? I think Jason would have gotten rewarded over Lisa because everybody's like, who are you outside of Eric,
Yeah.
right? So
Mhm.
Yeah, I, I, I feel like that's probably giving Lisa a little bit too much credit. Where I feel, where, where
okay.
uh, the reason that I say that is like for weeks, everybody has been saying at this point, Jason's going to win if he gets to the end. Jason's going to win
Mhm.
if he gets to the end. And he's just this nice, pure guy that I feel like it's kind of the obvious move here. Like I do I do think that it's still takes guts to do what she did here, but I kind of feel like, you know, she kind of had this choice given to her on a silver platter here. So I don't know that still I'll give her props. Like, you still have to make the choice. You still have to go through
Yeah.
with it. I just don't know necessarily how much true insight she had into the game at this point where, I do think that this situation where she's like keeping her mouth shut and just listening to Danielle confess all her sins is something that's a little more impressive to me because it feels like, she's got a lot of ammo.
Yeah.
She has a lot of ammo here
Mhm.
that she can use against her going into this jury questioning. And so for me, that's kind of the more impressive move here is that she does know when to keep her mouth shut and her eyes open.
Yeah, I think Jerry summed it up perfectly
Yeah.
that she got lucky. Like I said, it was a perfect storm. She got very lucky. She just knew how to ride that wave of luck. Like she wasn't in opposition to it, right? Because she could, like you said, she could have not made the choice, Mackenzie, but she she did, right? Like she did. She made the choices. So I agree. I definitely agree.
Yeah, and for me, that's kind of more reinforced when we're getting Lisa's perspective in the DR of how she's played the game. She falls into this alliance here. She wins HOH, so she has power that first week. She gets into a showmance that ultimately lands herself on the block. She does make a very, very good choice in not allowing Eric to come back into the game. But then at that point, when Danielle tells her, "Oh yeah, me and Jason pulled you in as our third because we didn't trust Marcellus," Lisa kind of plays it off as if like, it was some great strategic thing that she allowed herself to be pulled in by them. And it's like, no, it just kind of happened. And then at that point, you're just kind of waiting things out. So that's kind of where we leave that with Lisa and Danielle. Danielle says, "What's done is done. I had a good fight. This was a good game." And so then we move into one of our first jury segments in the episode. First, we have the jury kind of all reconvening before they talk to the final two and making amends. There's basically, to me, I saw this as one big like gratitude circle where all of these people are just it was the most basic like, I apologize if I said anything that offended you. Okay, you're forgiven, and they hug it out, and everything's all peachy keen. All sins are forgiven here. What was your guys' thought? Anything stand out?
Jimmy, you got anything?
So no, I won't say anything stood out. I no, not well. Oh, Marcellus. Oh my gosh, when Jason
Okay.
was trying to take up for Danielle, and
Oh,
That's
Marcellus
later.
was
That's later.
that's later.
that is that later? That's not
Hmm.
doing this. Okay, I'm
That's
sorry.
This,
after.
yeah.
I think that's right. Either right before they talk to the final two, or
You're
no.
right.
I think it's right after.
You're right.
Yeah.
Sorry.
This was just like you said. This was just them going around in the kumbaya and like
Yeah,
addressing um these things, which
you're right. You're right.
is, I mean, it's fine, I guess. I mean, I see why this is something that has definitely been drastically reduced over time. right?
Yeah.
Like from a reunion. Like we get Julie kind of sitting with it for maybe like what, maybe 7 minutes max
Yeah,
nowadays. And like this just felt like, okay, like you guys can solve this. But we also live in a world where like after you get out of the house now, you can go on TikTok
social media.
or Facebook and you can hash all these things out and you can drive people to your platform. So I
Mhm.
mean, I think it's a win-win for everybody. I'm not sad to see this go because, like you said, it was just a lot of like, I'm so sorry, Amy, but I'm not sorry. Like it's just like what it's that's what it felt like. It was just like,
Right.
okay, I don't care. And then some of these people, I'm like, who are you again? Oh, that's right.
Oh,
Oh, why do you
oh,
gotta call out Lori like that?
like that.
That's
Okay.
exactly what I was talking about. I couldn't even think of her name. I was like the one that showed up at the finale looking like she was in Grey Gardens. That one.
Oh my gosh. That's
That
rude.
one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you
Bless her
know,
heart.
yeah. I think the thing. I mean, I liked moments like Marcellus and Tanya kind of making amends there. I felt that was a little more genuine. I liked
I agree.
when Josh apologized to Jerry for many of the rude comments he made towards
So I
him.
even wrote that down. Like I really forgot he was that cruel to Jerry.
Yeah,
Like I'd really forgotten that. I forgot.
yeah. So there was definitely, I will say, one of the things that pissed me off was, of course, Roddy and him just sitting there talking about how shocked and appalled he was at all of the things that people said about him when he never said one mean thing about anybody. And I just thought that was the wildest thing. Like, really, dude, you never said one bad thing. We're still going with this, you know.
Yeah.
I I'm trying to be careful about my words about Roddy because I see what happens when you say bad things about him.
Right.
We see what happens. Um, I think that if Roddy's game, if this game, if Roddy was playing the game in today's climate and he was still who he was at this time, I think social media would take him to task. I think they would call out all like I genuinely feel like they would call out all sorts of maybe perceived narcissistic behavior a little bit on his end.
Mhm.
And I just I'm sorry, I just can't I can't find something. I'm trying to say something nice about him and I don't know if I can. I don't know if I can get there. Um because
He's
I
the
mean
devil.
I don't want to say it. I don't want to say it
I
because you know what
mean,
happens. But
I don't
I
care if
just
he comes for me.
that's fair. It just like you said that moment honestly was I think it was a moment where it came to kind of a halt. Like everybody else is taking this moment to like
mhm,
apologize for things and say like,
to
"Oh, I'm
reflect.
sorry I did this," and reflect. And you're like you said, he immediately is just like, "I can't believe all the mean things you said about me. I never said bad things about you. How could you say such mean things?" And it's like, dude, what are you two? Like, what are you like? What is happening here right now? Like, do you not know what show you're on? And it's just so interesting. So I am with you there. Like it pissed me off. Roddy's behavior this whole episode, I think, just really kind of was just like, I'm over you. Like I can't
Agreed.
wait. I can't wait for you to be gone from my screen. So
Mhm.
And I hated how much like Kiara was like kowtowing to him and
Mhm,
apologizing.
mhm.
She was
But
like the one
now,
person I owe an apology to.
but she was kind of out there. Like some of the stuff that she was doing and saying in regards to, there is no way in the hell I would want my parents to go back and watch, some of that stuff. So I thought that's what she was apologizing for. I didn't have a problem with her apology.
I
Like,
it made me
yeah,
it made me very worried about her in a sense of like I hope that like time has given her perspective
mhm,
on this because I don't think that that relationship or situationship or friendship was healthy at all.
at
Like I
all, at
genuinely
all.
do not
Yeah.
think it was healthy, and the way she consistently is kowtowing to him and like I was like, girl, love yourself because
You shall
this
out.
is not oh, oh. Anyway, sorry. There's because there's a moment later when he says something. but
he
it's like when they're on the stage, and I was just kind of like, he's such an asshole.
Julie responded to him because I wrote that down too. But Julie clocked him for it. Julie
Okay, good,
clocked him
good,
for it.
good, good,
Yeah,
good.
yeah. But
But
I think I will say this too about Rodney since we're talking about him. I think that he is the opposite in regards to being sheltered and privileged. He's very similar, I think, to Amy in regards to living up in a house, probably have never really dealt with opposition. And I think she takes it from a Southern Belle's perspective, someone from the South. And I think he's on the opposite end of that and more so of a privilege that has never had to deal with opposition. And so this charm that is there, I don't think he will ever be able to deal with any level of criticism from people in general. Like if anybody just did not like him, I don't think he'll ever be able to deal with that.
and he's a writer. Is he an author? Is that what his
You know,
occupation is?
He is a writer. I know he later went on to be a producer in Hollywood, so he has produced some films. There is an interview that he did, I think in 2006, that you can find on YouTube where he's talking about a project that he produced. And
Hmm.
yeah,
may
he
we never have to come across him and need him for anything.
now I'm gonna send it to you.
I mean, like,
um,
Yeah.
but yeah, I do
I'm
think
not
that
making a
was.
deal with the devil.
I think that's fair. I think that was the part of the jury session that really was kind of like a standstill because everybody else was at least attempting to kind of kumbaya, and he's kind of like me. I'm like, get
Yeah.
out of here. So
Yeah, yeah, I think it's just, it's this high and mighty thing of like, oh, I'm better and more pure than all of you. So while you're dealing with your petty apologies and all that stuff, I'm really gonna take you all to task for
mhm.
all the ways that you put me down when I've just been this virtuous guy. And it's, yeah, like you said, it's behavior that we get more of throughout the episode, and it pisses me off the
Yeah,
entire way. So
we'll get there.
we will get there. So we do get the jury to start deliberating about the final two. This might be where Jason and Marcellus have that moment, Jimmy. So, but we get Josh starting things off by essentially saying that Lisa got really lucky to get to the final two and that she really didn't do much. And then in the DR, we have Jerry saying that Lisa really didn't seem to have a coherent strategy and that she was lucky. And then back in the deliberation, Marcellus says that Lisa's defining moment within the house was when she did not take the money and wanted everybody to get to make the phone call. And I felt like that was kind of the first moment that kind of set the tone for, okay, I know what the jury is kind of looking for here. And this idea that her best defining moment in the house was something that had nothing to do with the
Do with the
game. And
game.
yeah, it has nothing to do with the game. It's and what's wild to me is that Marcellus himself, I think, wait, was no, because this was after he was evicted. But everybody else, including his best friend, took the money.
Did.
And,
Mm-hmm. Hell,
so,
Amy got it. Amy won. Like
right,
she won. So
right. Like, you know, you're gonna say that, oh, Lisa's so much more selfless than everybody else, and it's like, oh, right, including your friend that won the prize to begin with. So I thought
I have a
that
huge
was
problem with Marcellus in general, and I was telling Winston about it. I really, really dislike him. I know we've talked about it on the podcast, but I tried to root for him early on. I tried to be there for him, but he is ridiculous. And I stand by the last statement that I made about him. is I think he's just on the show for the sake of being on the show, for whatever
Yeah.
fame that he can get from it. And so all of his comments, everything that he does, I feel like it's just geared to that, toward that. I don't think that anything about him saying that in regards to Lisa, nothing. I don't think anything about that was genuine. I don't think anything about that had any human capacity behind it. So
Yeah, I think that it maybe is pandering to the audience a little bit, definitely pandering to the audience. This idea of, because I do think there was a general sentiment in reality television at the time, especially when it comes to these social strategy games, in that there is a right and a wrong way to play these games, and that lying and backstabbing is a bad thing. And so I think he's kind of trying to similarly paint himself as this virtuous person that believes in the right person to win is the person that is selfless, that is good and righteous. And it is something that we get a little bit of pushback, but not much from this group. So,
Yeah.
you know, Tanya ends up saying that she thinks that, Lisa didn't just fly under the radar. She says that Danielle made everyone else do her dirty work, so she kind of seems to imply that Lisa was, willing to get her hands dirty for Danielle, and that Danielle was, not as playing a good of a game because she wasn't willing to be out in front making these decisions there. So then Josh kind of pushes back on that and says that Danielle's game was very impressive because, hey, she orchestrated all of our demises, like from the shadows, and the entire time we were loving Danielle. We didn't have any problem with her until we left the house. So how can we really fault her for that? Because, she played the game the way it was meant to be played.
Which is so shocking when it comes down to the final result. You're like, even you,
Yeah.
Josh? Even
yeah.
you? Like, who openly acknowledged that like she played an impressive game? Um but yeah, like you said, this whole jury session, it's interesting. But I just wanted to like, yeah, that like for Josh to be like, yeah, it's very impressive, and then for us to still end up where we end up, I'm like, it's tough. It's tough because it's the game of Big Brother, and like you said, I think you start to glean from these responses what the jury is looking for.
Yeah.
But it's like I just wanted to shake the screen and be like, do you guys realize this is a game?
Yeah.
Like this is a game. Like regardless of how you feel, this is a game. And it again, Big Brother's a social experiment. So it you just chalk it up to it being Big Brother, I guess is where I have to kind of like land with it. But it's so frustrating. Like this whole session was very frustrating for me. Just extremely. So yeah.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with you there. I appreciated these moments of sanity where, someone like Josh is saying, hey, let's take a step back here and realize what this game is that we signed up to play. I it's such an interesting thing, and I do think that we get shades of this. Still in today's Big Brother, we do have people that come in and they have no idea what game they signed up for. So then when they make the jury, they're in that position
Yeah.
where they're thinking about it from a very moral perspective. But I I just think it's such a time capsule of what the perspective of these types of games were back in the early 2000s, because the idea of a game where you live in this society with people and you're lying and backstabbing and swearing on your grandmother and grandkids is just a completely novel idea. And
And it's very indicative of America's culture as a whole at the time, right? Like
absolutely.
it that is really where I think it that's like you're right. It's a perfect time capsule of just like this is the world that we were living in, right? This is who we were. Like people couldn't be evil. The people I knew and that I hung out with, like it's just so interesting. And like I said, it's very frustrating because it's like I think at the end of the day, some of them and almost hypocritical. Like a lot of it was very hypocritical. I think for some of them, and so I just this was tough to sit through. To be honest, it was very tough because I it pained. I'm sorry, it just pained me because it's just like every now and again a little bit of logic, like you said, we'd have a moment of like just realism where somebody's like, "This is a great game," but then somehow we're back to chastising her for playing this great game. And not to get like too deep into things, I think I do I think that there's also the perception of who she is, right? Like I think
Yep.
Danielle being a black woman playing this game in this time, I think I think that betrayal after feeling like we've all been together, we just saw this whole kumbaya session where everybody's like doing all this acceptance. I think the betrayal after like I let my guard down, I let you in, I accepted you into my world. And what do you mean you said all these things about me? What do you mean you played this liar game? I think there's a lot of factors that go into it, and again, this just made this very it made this whole section just very hard for me. And then I'll just add this on Marcellus, and then we'll lead up. I think, well, because I'm like I don't like not like Marcellus, because I know he comes back later. He hangs out with my girl Janelle. And I ride or die for Janie. So you know anybody that's good with Janie is good with me, but I do think that I think he lacks real allegiances. I think he's
Yeah.
so worried about putting on the perception that Roddy has so effortlessly that he has to work
Mm,
for. I
mm,
think that he's constantly wanting to be accepted. I think it's something it's probably a deeper wound, a deeper trigger. Like I think, and so because at the end of the day, I think he would have done the same to Danielle, and I think he just doesn't want to admit that. But I genuinely believe
mhm.
that, like, what pains me about Marcellus is like there is no real backbone. He's like, I'm gonna say it, I'm gonna put you in your place, I'm gonna correct this behavior. Like, look at all the ways he's done it with Amy, but then he's right back to just like falling, letting her fall back into the same things, him falling back into it with him. There's no real, like you said, there's no real value behind his words. There's no real meaning behind them, and so that for me is just kind of like the frustrating piece of Marcellus. But so, well, that's all I'm gonna say on this because
Well
it's I,
said.
obviously
Nice.
obviously this is all very frustrating to me, and I've said it 10 times, and I'm just
Uh,
Nice.
Jimmy, I will ask, did you have a similar visceral reaction as you're watching this segment?
This segment, no, that was not my reaction. I did start to get a little bit closer toward that when they began to ask the questions.
Okay.
And so more so then, because legitimately I wrote down like there's no game talk. The questions that you're asking are personal, nothing about the game. And so it was legitimately at that point, it was like, okay, see where you're going, kind of see where you're going to vote. Like this is got it, got it. Like this is yeah, just got it. Yeah, but
Yeah.
I'm not as frustrated as Winston is on it, but I do understand it. I get it, and I do think it is stupid. And I personally, since I started watching Big Brother the later seasons, it is I can see why you'd be frustrated. It is disheartening because it's like it is a game. Like you came here for the game, and if anything, reward the person that played the best game. And so, and then you talk about Danielle. I think where she probably messed up with it, and I'm just thinking about this now, listening to you, is she played the mother card
Yeah.
with just about every last one of them. And
Mhm.
when you do that, you definitely tap into some heartstrings that most other people in your circle will never ever see. And so now that you've mentioned that, I could see why they would have a disdain for her. I could see that. I can see that. Yeah, she played the wrong card with everybody. Like you should have did that with a select few and been done. But she played that probably with too many people.
Or she played
So
her best card, which I mean, it got her to the final two.
this is
Like,
true.
it's.
Good point. Good point.
I mean, I'm not gonna let
Fair.
Danielle get beat. She
Fair.
got enough. She got enough. Okay, she
Mm,
got enough.
mm, I mean,
So,
Yeah.
you know.
um,
Mm. I hope you
So
get ready because I got more to say about that. Yeah, we'll wait.
okay,
okay.
okay, and I appreciate that point you just brought up about her playing the mother card. I think that we will be able to talk about that a little bit more. So I'll put a pin in that for a second
Okay.
because I think I will have some thoughts there too. One of the last things that we get from Josh is that, you know, as much as people think that she wasn't loyal to anybody, she was loyal to one person,
Mhm.
Jason, and that is something that, we kind of also get as kind of this thread of like, okay, well, Danielle isn't a loyal person, but she is loyal to Jason, and we do get Jason kind of speaking up here a little bit, where he tells the group, there's no rules to this game. There's no rules to it. She played within the confines of the game. I know that she loves each and every one of you, and you may not agree with the way she played the game. I don't fully agree with the way that she played the game, but she played the most honest game that she possibly could. And at the end of the day, it's a game. And this is the moment you were talking about, Jimmy, where Marcellus gets up and he has to move.
He just
He cannot sit next to someone that is a virgin, that is a Christian, that is justifying this meanness. He can't stand for it. He will not stand for it.
which is so stupid. I really dislike that man. I really dislike him. And not to me, like, and even the way she played the game, it is not as vile as we have seen. And so
Ooh,
I don't understand. Like, again, yeah, she lied a few times. For the most part, she really didn't. She tried to, go
yeah,
around,
yeah,
but
she
she,
skirts around things. Yeah,
100%. So I'm like, I think they're all just hurt and in their feelings. And I really hope that they look back over the years and just like that was a fucking dumbass thing to do. Like, is what I really hope they come to that conclusion. At least half of them.
right.
But
We know Roddy
so.
won't be in that half.
No, even
No,
Roddy spoke up about this, about her being loyal to everybody and making commitments to Jason. And
right,
everybody was just like, at least she was loyal to one person. And he's just like, well, she made a commitment to me too, and she wasn't loyal to me. Like,
right,
yeah, like,
right.
yeah, yeah.
And that's the thing that he doesn't get is like, if she's telling you in the diary room that she's loyal to one person and that person is Jason, it doesn't matter what she's
Mhm.
telling you to your face. So we do get some thoughts as we go into the commercial break about the final two in the DR. I don't know that we really have to run through all of them unless there's particularly some insights here that you guys got.
Me.
No. Mm-mm.
Okay, then we can move on to the fun stuff. And we have a lead in to the jury Q&A here. So we this so first, before we get into the actual Q&A, I wanted to ask you guys what you thought of this format, because in modern day Big Brother we have this very short Q&A that we get in the finale that takes up maybe 5 minutes of real time screen time. And I know that the fans have been kind of clamoring for this old format back for a while. So I wanted to get your guys' thoughts on what you think of this kind of open forum Q&A.
I actually prefer this.
Okay.
So this was good for me. I wish the questions were better.
Yeah.
I definitely wish that. But the format itself, I enjoyed this. I think that was great for the jury to be able to sit there. You face them like let's deal with this. Let's ask some real questions. Like let's deal with this now.
Yeah, no, I think I prefer the new way.
Oh wow.
Yeah, I think from, and this is probably purely from, and I don't want to say prefer, but I understand the new way, right? The way that it happens now adds a better sense of expect the unexpected to the game, right? By
Mm,
doing it right now on finale night, you don't have a lot of time. I'm gonna ask you this question. You're gonna have to do it in front of the live audience, in front of the, and then they have to immediately turn around and make a decision. I think is brilliant from just a TV making standpoint, right? For keeping my audience engaged and keeping them in, but then also ensuring that we get that last little bit of unpredictability because there's not a lot of time to mull it over, right? There's not a whole lot of time to process. And so you're more inclined to have quick emotional responses, which I think a lot of this voting was emotional responses, but I think you're able to kind of really weed out like who understands a good game player versus a quick emotional response because so much of the final vote now weighs on this live Q&A. It now lays in the hands of this last like speech, right? Like so much of it is now hinging on that it adds a different element of gameplay, which we just saw with the most recent season with Chelsea rehearsing her final speech for days, right? Being able to try to predict those questions for days, like the prep for that, because she knows how important jury management is. And if I
yeah.
don't say the exact right thing in this moment, it could cost me the game because they're going to turn right around and vote. So I think from an unpredictability standpoint, it's great. I think if you're watching Big Brother and your sense is I really want to spend time with these people, I really want to understand their thoughts and point of views. I really want to spend time getting their questions, and I'm not just trying to get to the money and get that final result of like who's gonna win. I think this works. And so I'm not saying it's bad. I just think with the way attention spans have gone, the way the game has gone, I think it makes sense for the way that we do it now. And I would probably continue to advocate that we keep it this way just because of that. So yeah, yeah.
Nice. And Noah, what side are you
Yeah.
on?
Yeah.
I'm
Sorry, I
on
was
the
like,
I'm on the side that I prefer this old way of doing things. I see what you're saying, Winston. As you were talking, I was also thinking about Chelsea and how she was rehearsing her speech for weeks, and I do think if you know what to expect, if you know that you're only going to have 45 seconds to answer a question or to give a final speech, that it is something that you can prepare for. So
Mhm,
it is not as much of a handicap as it used to be when they switched the format.
mhm,
But I don't know, I still feel like something is lost when because if for every Chelsea there's a Tyler that is not a good public speaker, that is not good under that type of pressure, but played this amazing game, but only has 45 seconds to discuss 3 months worth of gameplay to the point where he's just repeating stuff about how he didn't have to use his power app, you
yeah.
know. So I do think in a long form jury Q&A, it's the type of thing where they can ask as many questions as they
Mhm,
want. You can give as much detail as you want. Where you know I think that sometimes the longer you talk, it's easier to convince people of things. Sometimes, not all the time, but like if I have a hostage audience and I've got 4 hours to make a point, there's a chance I might be able to convert some votes there. So I do think that I do ultimately prefer this older version of the jury Q&A format.
But see, I think you hit the nail on the head for me as to why it's perfect, because it is a skill. It's a skill to have to sit in front of these people and sum up 3 months worth of game work in 3 minutes and come off likable and come off as intelligent and come off as strategic and being able to do these things. And then also hoping that your competition, the person that you brought to the end or that brought you to the end, is not going to be able to speak to that as well. And for me, it just makes me think about, and this is just like the corporate world, right? That's what the world I work in. Like, so much of that world is presentations, and it's, I have this short bit of time to convince you as to why this is a good idea and why we should invest in it or why we should move forward. And like, here's the months of work that we've done condensed down into a 5-minute presentation, right? And so like for me, it's a skill. It's a skill that people have to have in everyday life. And so um, that's why I think I'm more in support of it, because I think it gives players another opportunity to highlight a skill and potentially win, right? Versus like you said, if I could sit for as long as I want, 4 hours, 1-to-1 with you guys, maybe by hour 2 you could have warmed up to me and your whole opinion could have changed, right? Like, now you're not just looking at my gameplay, you're looking at me as a person again. I've kind of warmed you up. Like, I've, you know what I mean? So I just, I don't know. I like the unpredictability of those final moments. So I don't know. But I hear what you guys are saying. I am so glad we don't do this anymore. So just saying. I'm gonna stand 10 toes down in that.
Oh my gosh.
Um,
Well, yeah, and I think that a lot of it, you know, some jury Q&As are going to be
yeah.
better than others. It depends on, if you don't get good questions, then it doesn't really matter what format it is. We certainly do not get any good questions here, as we open with Lori, who asks Lisa if she has any regrets about the first HOH and the 6-person alliance that was formed during that week. And this is kind of what I was talking about earlier when I was like, okay, something that Lisa is good with is cluing into what the jury is looking for here. And
Mm-hmm.
her answer, I think, is pretty good, where she's like, oh yes, I really regret that alliance, and that week was really hard for me. I am not one to judge someone
So
as
quickly.
quickly as I
Mm-hmm.
did, and that alliance is really the only regret that I have in the game. We then have Lori ask about the hand washing incident, because of course she does. And and she basically asks Danielle, like, if she regrets that, and she's like, yeah, I wasn't trying to make a big deal out of the whole hand washing thing, but then I blew up, and we don't really see Danielle apologize for what happened, but Lori does apologize to her. That might have been something that was cut for time, but I can also believe that Danielle just saw it as like, no, this is stupid. I'm not going to apologize because I asked someone to wash their hands.
She did say that she got a little heated. I think is what she
Right.
stated.
Yeah.
Danielle. It was
Yeah.
like she had gotten a little heated, and she probably would not, have done. She would have done that piece a little bit differently. But I mean, it made for some damn good TV.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that was some. That was yeah. That was a huge like. That was a good blow up. I was here for that
Absolutely.
drama. Yeah.
Absolutely. So then up next is Tanya, who asks Lisa about certain things that Lisa said on the live feeds about Tanya. We get a flashback of Lisa, I think, saying that their conversations were very surface level, and
Mm-hmm.
she just wants to know what Lisa's true feelings are about her. And Lisa says that she doesn't remember anything bad that she said about Tanya, but if she did, she apologizes. And then she says to Danielle, Danielle, I really don't care what you think about me, but I want to know if there's anything that you would have changed in the game. And Danielle says here that she wishes she would have held onto the key. Do we think this is a good answer?
I think it was Danielle's most honest answer she could give.
Yeah.
To me, it was a very cop out answer. But this is where I started to realize the trend of like they are these questions are softballing these two up. Like they are like they're setups. Like it's 100% when you look at the questions that they're asking and how they're asking. Like I know we said we don't have because none of these are about game, but it's all about personal things. And it's like they're here to air out grievances. And like you can start to tell that Danielle's list of grievances are a little bit deeper, just because like what was her name again? Is it Lori?
Tanya.
No, the
Tanya.
one before that, Lori.
Oh, Lori.
Oh,
Lori
Lord.
was the one before that. Yeah.
Lori is like, oh my gosh, tell me about that alliance. Do you have any regrets, and do you regret that alliance? Like basically giving you a chance to apologize, which fine, yeah. But then like your first thing for Danielle, which is probably the only thing, is like let's rehash and bring back up to people's forethoughts how you yelled at me in the middle of the living room, right? And then Tanya doesn't give Lisa the kind of same grace in her question where she's like, I don't need to know what you think about me. Like I don't, because but like, what would you have done differently in the game? Like it's so passive aggressive, and it feels like it almost feels microaggression-y to me, a little bit. And so it just this I was like, what is this? Like this is when I started to really clue in that like, okay, this is gonna be a doozy. Like this is gonna be fun.
Yeah, it really feels like you said, these are softball questions, so it's like if you're paying attention, you can tell the wording of the question and you kind of know what they're looking for here. Yeah, this jury questioning really feels like a trial of Danielle here. She gets put through the ringer here, and I will say that the first time that I watched this, like I it made me so uncomfortable. It made me so uncomfortable to watch that and then see the end result. And I wasn't like going into having to watch these episodes. I was not looking forward to watching it again because I was like, oh,
Yeah.
it was a little less intense than I remembered it, but it was still that vibe of, oh, this is about like putting the scarlet letter on Danielle and or having her walk through the streets as people are saying shame to her, that it was something where I felt very bad as we went on here, because yeah, like you said, it's just this passive aggressive, microaggressive
Yeah.
kind of language here that goes back, I think, a lot to what Jimmy was saying earlier of, she is a mother, she is a Black woman that is being held to a higher standard here that is definitely unfair, and it just makes for something that it didn't feel like the fun jury Q&As that we usually get. It definitely had more of a trial vibe to it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So this is followed up by Amy asking Danielle how honest she was in her diary room sessions. And Danielle says here that her sessions were very honest. She says, it was the emotion that I was feeling at the time. What you saw in the DR was the real deal. And
Those
Yeah,
words, I think, really sealed her fate. I don't think she realized that answer, because
yeah,
they were weaponizing those DRs against her.
yeah,
And the minute
Mm,
the minute Amy asked that question and she answered, the pit dropped in my stomach, and I was like, this is where she just set herself up to lose when she said, that was me. And the thing is, it's the truth. It's not that it's
it is the
wrong,
truth.
but it's that in that moment when she's basically saying, yeah, who I was in those DRs was real. Everything you guys saw, everything you guys are offended by, everything you guys are like
Mm,
upset about, that's it. That's me. I'm the real deal, because again, they've seen it, like they've
yeah,
watched it, and so oh god,
yeah.
that was tough. That was like where I was like, oh man, Danielle.
yeah, absolutely. Because even the comments like, calling Roddy the devil, which I think is probably her biggest sin in the DR. That,
Mm-hmm.
you know, when I watch it, I think to myself, oh, she's joking, she's ribbing him a little bit, but yeah, with that kind of admission there, it does paint that comment in a very different
Different.
light there.
Hmm. Hmm. And she probably didn't even think that far,
No,
in
no,
regards to that question. Like I'm sure she did, which is silly. You've been this strategic this entire time. How could you not be thinking about jury management?
right.
And
Well,
so,
and I think this is where this I think this is probably where the game then gets changed fundamentally forever. Like I think this is where we really realize that the format then has to change,
mm,
honestly.
Yeah, and I
hmm,
also think that maybe Danielle was looking at that question in the sense of she knows how honesty has been such a big theme for the
mm,
season. So I think the way she's looking at it is, well, if I admit that I'm telling the truth in the DR, then I am admitting that even if I lied to somebody, well, at least I was honest in the DR. So I did
mm,
have some honesty to my game. And so I think that that is what she thought she was admitting to. And
mm.
she just doesn't realize like how how deep those DRs really got her in trouble.
Yeah. Especially because they've had time to sit with them, watch
Mhm.
them as many times as they would like, and form their own narratives up until this point, and continuously feed into their own narrative based off of that. And she's had no chance to give a rebuttal. And so when you sit and then you say it's the real deal, I'm just like, no, baby, no, no. So yeah.
So, so I think that that's an interesting perspective because then Lisa gets the same question
Hmm.
and she pretty much answers it in the same way. But I think that the difference there is that because they already went into this having like an okay perception of Lisa, maybe not even thinking about her at all, that it just kind of reinforced like, oh, okay, well, she didn't really say anything bad about me in the DR, so I'm guessing like if she's saying she's honest, then great, she's a better person than Danielle is.
Yeah.
Mhm. Mhm.
So then we get Eric, who
Mm.
asks Danielle how she would rate her game on a scale of 1 to 10, and it's a scale based on ethics, so how
Ethics.
ethical she played the game. And Danielle rates herself a 1.
A one.
She's like, I was not really ethical at all. I did whatever I needed to do to win this game, but I will say this: I didn't break any rules.
So
And yeah,
she said it. I think that was the time to remind everybody of the game. And in fact, every
yeah,
last one of her answers should have been reminding people of the game.
right,
And who she is personally is not the same as as the game. Like that should have been a consistent thing. So when you do say something like that about your ethics, and I give myself a one,
right,
like it was for the game. Like that's what
right.
we signed up for. And she yeah, bless her heart.
I,
She
I
missed a lot of opportunities.
I think that she, to Noah's point, was I think she was trying to give the honesty that it seemed like everybody was craving for, right?
Mm,
Like I think she was doing radical honesty and not to get too, but when you guys, what really sparked me is when you guys talk about like, she took on this mother role. Isn't that just like a parent? Like when they finally are ready to admit that
mm,
they've done something wrong, they're going to be
mm,
radically honest. I did mess up and I made mistakes, but it was just because I wanted to protect you. But I'm your parent, goddammit. You're still going to love me, right? You're still going to be here. Like it's like you're hoping that that relationship that you've built from that perspective of being this mother hen is
mm,
going to immediately be salvaged because yeah, I messed up, but I'm honest about it now. I'm telling you everything I did wrong and it was it's my radical honesty and I think it bit her in the ass, like I excuse my language. I genuinely think she thought radical honesty was the play here. Like because when she said one, I'm like there's no way in the
no
in the
way.
world
Yeah,
that I would
yeah,
say that. but i'm also
No.
no,
like but I'm also like I think she's just trying to, same vein of when she said it to Lisa, like I've done diabolical things, like that's out of her mouth. I think she's just like, this one, I'm coming clean. I've done all these bad
Mhm,
things, but I'm still Mother Hand. Like you're still gonna reward me for it
mhm,
because I still was that person, and I don't think she thought that it would go the other way. So
yeah.
yeah, and it's a hard thing because it's like, okay, then what do you rate yourself? It's like, okay, you can't rate yourself a one because then that's reinforcing what people already think about you. But if you say 10,
Mhm.
nobody's going to
Obviously a
believe
lie.
that either.
Mhm, mhm, mhm,
I
mhm.
guess you could go middle of the road.
Would be
And
my thoughts.
maybe that would have been the safest one. Like
or
go in the middle of the road because it's a game and you're kind of grading yourself on a curve there. Oh,
or
go
you
ahead.
say or you say with the entire house, I probably played a game of about a 3. With my solid alliance with Jason, I played a game of 10. Right? Like you
Okay.
remind them that like
Mhm,
like as a whole, yeah, maybe I did some things, but I still was loyal to that one person because that's her one saving grace. Like Jason and his image, the problem is like I don't know if that's enough to rehab you in this moment, but that's
mhm,
the answer that you give. Like you got to compromise. You got to give them that like, yeah, I'm going to give you this low number, but like but also look shiny coin over here, like I was a 10 with Jason. Like I was a 3 probably with the whole house as a whole, but like if you were to ask me about what was the ethics of my game with Jason, I was always honest. I always did these things. I came back to him immediately when I made that final 2 deal with Lisa because again, I was always playing at a 10 with him. But sometimes because of the nature of this game with the house, I had to take those ethics back a little bit. So that's why I would say I was more so a 3 or 4. And so again, it's all about that last minute spin skill, which is why I'm like,
mhm.
we need these things. But yeah, I agree. I don't know what she was thinking other than she just thought I'd be radically honest, and I don't think that was the move.
It
So
wasn't. It wasn't for sure.
Yeah, yeah. I think it's a tough thing because even if you say that you were a 10 with Jason, they'll come back and be like, okay, well, you made
What
that
about me?
deal with Lisa.
Mhm, mhm. Or what
And
about me?
Lisa would definitely have said that, but
but
you
again,
know,
but she made the deal with Lisa. But at the end of the day, Lisa's the one that chose to make good on the deal. She had no power
right,
in that situation. And that's
right,
exactly what I would come back and say. Like, I think that's a rebuttal for everything. I think it
Yeah.
just,
right.
I genuinely think they were too scorned to care. I don't think
They
anything she would have said would have
they
changed anything.
Yeah,
mhm, mhm.
And
Yeah.
I think I don't know where we
Good
are
point.
in the. There's a certain point where I think where she starts to kind of get crying and tearing up, and I don't know if that's after Roddy or during Marcellus, but I think it was at that point I think she realized that this was not going to go in her favor.
Marcellus.
I think it
Yeah,
was
Yeah,
Marcellus. Yeah.
Marcellus.
yeah.
Yeah, it was.
So then we get Eric asking Lisa if not voting him back into the house had anything to do with the fact that she knew he would be a vote for her in the jury. And Lisa basically says, no, I didn't give the final vote any thought at the time. I didn't vote you back in because I knew that we would just be pulled away from each other again. And that was kind of a gimme question, and then I think it's enough there for him feel solid enough in his relationship with Lisa, even though I don't think that there was any indication that he would ever vote for Danielle over Lisa. So
Fair.
it's a non-entity there. So we do get a very interesting follow-up from Josh here, who asks Lisa why he shouldn't vote for Danielle. And Lisa says that they shouldn't vote for Danielle because Lisa played an honest game, and she played it with the purpose of wanting an honest person to win in the game. And so this is another instance of Lisa knowing how the cards are falling and kind of being able to play into the jury here. And this is really when I feel like things kind of rev up on Danielle here. And I think I was kind of surprised because it did kind of feel like from this moment on, Lisa was really also kind of starting to pile on Danielle here. I don't know if that's the impression that the two of you also got.
No, absolutely. I was like, okay, here we go, painting Lisa in this very good, holy Virgin Mary light here over here, where she's like, I was good, I was honest, and it definitely, I think from this moment forward starts to snowball to where even Danielle picks up on it and she even calls it out, like, she's good, I'm evil, like she calls it out, and we see it really start to ramp up, I think, from this moment forward, and I'm just my heart breaks for her because I'm like, it doesn't get easier. So
So I saw it, and I do understand that from the jury's perspective, but I did not. I don't think Lisa was doing that. I would not give her that kind of credit. I really don't think that with her Lisa's answers, I don't think she was trying to harpoon or just beat Danielle down or with that. So that piece is the only thing I don't agree with. So
I could agree with that. I definitely could agree with that because I think it's even more it's even more um, evident later when the guests come back when the house guests come back into the house and like Danielle's hiding around the corner, but Lisa's like trying to bring her over. I don't think Lisa I don't think she ever had the competitive spirit in her body to be like,
so
I'm going to take down
I think that is
to go against Danielle. Like, you know.
yeah. Yeah, honestly, I didn't even think about it that way, but I think you're absolutely correct. She probably doesn't have that competitive spirit, period. So like so you're wow. I didn't think of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, yeah. So, like Winston said, we basically get Danielle being asked the same question, and he's like, why should I give you the 500K when Lisa gave up $15,000?" And yeah, this is the moment where I think Danielle kind of throws in the towel here, and it's
Said
just
I'm
like, you know what,
fixed.
I'm evil, she's good,
Mm-hmm.
give her the money, I don't care at this point. That's all I got to say.
yeah.
And yeah, so it is very disheartening just to see that happen at that point. But I do think she kind of came in knowing it was going to be a tough road, and this is just kind of the moment where she realizes it's over. But we do get Kiara asking Danielle to list all of the people that she lied to, and
Like, what's the
Danielle makes
point?
it right. It,
It just
what's the point? And Danielle makes it pretty simple. She's like, all right, the only two people I probably didn't lie to are Jason and then maybe Lori. Like, we all know everybody else I lied to, and it's just kind of like, and we already know who Kiara is going to vote for because she's not going to go against
Roddy.
Roddy. So,
Yeah.
but we do get Kiara asking Lisa if she forgives her for calling her insecure.
Yeah.
And Lisa says that, well, she doesn't understand why she said that. She is going to hold on to her first instinct of her, and if they're meant to be friends outside of the house, they will be, so she does forgive her. And, you know, I I didn't have any positive opinion of Kiara throughout the season. We talked before about how her and Amy are two sides of the same coin, it seems like, and so I have just as much distaste for her as I do for Amy, but you know, yeah, here I'm just like Kiara is the one that's insecure. It's not Lisa, it's not Danielle, it's kind of Amy, but it's definitely Kiara. Because even here, it's like she's looking for reassurance
Mhm.
from Lisa. You know, she's always chasing reassurance from somebody that she looks up to or wants them to have a positive opinion of her. So
Yeah, I agree. I honestly, truly, again, softened on Lisa a bit because I was like, that was a good answer. That was a great answer. Like, I don't quite understand it. I'm gonna go with my first impression, and if we're meant to be friends outside of this house, we'll be friends outside of this house. Like, and I forgive you, and I definitely understand that because I could even see myself doing that because it's like I'm not even gonna hold space for you and your words in my life. Like, yeah, I'll forgive you because I'm like at the end of the day, is what it is. I see you. I see you exactly for who you described her as. Like you're somebody who's insecure and you need the reassurance. So yeah, I forgive you, and that's because that's going to eat you up more than me being upset with you ever would. The fact that I forgave you, like, so I thought that it was a brilliant answer on Lisa's part because like she didn't let her get away with saying it in the sense of like she's like I don't understand it, but I'm gonna try to hold true to my first impression of you. I thought that was a very classy answer. I thought that was a very very well thought out answer. Again, great jury management. I mean, not that she necessarily needed to, because I think she knew that she'd vote for her, but I still thought it was a very classy answer. So, but it definitely, like, Kiara got on my nerves the whole time. Like, I'm just like, why? Like, just go away. How old are you? I don't know their ages. I don't, but I was like, how old are you? Because you're getting on my nerves. Your immaturity's getting on my nerves. So, yeah.
yeah, they're definitely both like um I think younger 20s. I don't
Okay.
think because Danielle, I know, I think at this time was 30, so they're
Okay.
definitely a few years
Okay.
younger than her.
Okay.
So
Makes sense. Um, yeah.
so we then get Jerry who asks Danielle, if you don't win the 500K, what was the flaw in your game? And Danielle says that if I played the game honest, I probably would have won the 500K. But I also don't believe that I would have made the final two if I did play honest. And then he asks Lisa the same question, and Lisa says that her biggest flaw was bringing another Dr. Will to the end. She said, Will played a good game last year, Danielle played a good game this year, and I fell for it.
I think this is where I could kind of see your argument from earlier, Noah, where you're like she kind of does pile on to Danielle a little bit
Yeah.
because by calling her Dr. Will, she's automatically putting an association in their minds, right, of who
Mhm.
this person is. You are essentially saying this person played a mean villain-like game without necessarily having to call her out on it. So I do see that in that moment, 100%. So just to kind of say, I agree with you there. I do think she kind of piled on a little bit when she added in that Dr. Will comment. So,
Yeah, I think so too. I think, I do not believe that Dr. Will had a positive connotation when he won his season. I don't think he had a warm reception. And so I do think that you're right on the money that the connotation there is just kind of reinforcing everything about what an evil person that Danielle is. Then we kind of finish off here with Roddy and Marcellus, and we can just kind of yada yada this. Roddy asks about how bad the PB&J weeks were for Danielle. He asks Lisa what her favorite memory was of the house, and it's just like, okay, that Roddy knew like this was the moment to make things right with Danielle. He could have chosen to do that. He doesn't do that here. He chooses to just be petty, and this is another moment where, for as much as I've wanted to give Roddy the benefit of the doubt, and I've gone back and forth this entire season, liking him and then not liking him, that this is a moment that I am really left with a bad taste in my mouth. What are your guys' thoughts
on this with Roddy in general?
Yeah.
Nothing. It flew over me. Like I am so
Oh.
over. I'm over Roddy. Like I could care
Oh,
less about him.
I was pissed
Yeah.
because he was essentially saying to Danielle, I don't care what you have to say at this point.
Yeah.
Like he's essentially saying like there's nothing that I want to know from you because my vote's already sealed. It's essentially what he's saying by asking about this peanut butter sandwich. And she picked up on it. That's why she's kind of like, "Oh, Roddy, right?" Like she had cuz she knew in that moment that like it didn't matter. He's literally saying this is your chance to convince me why I should vote for you, and I don't even care. Like I'm gonna ask you about the peanut butter and jelly sandwiches because it doesn't matter. And so it was such a dick move, such a control power play petty move that I was just like, get off of the screen, like get out of here. So that's where I am with that. That's all I got to say on it.
Yeah, I definitely agree. And I think, honestly, I think he ruled that jury. And I think that this was, like I said, this was the moment for them both to make amends with each other. I think he knew that. I think he was not in a position to where he wanted to give her that opportunity. So he was like, I'm not even going to give you a question that allows you to make yourself look any better in any sense. I'm just going to give you this, not even a softball. It was a golf ball question, and he
Yeah.
straight up threw it at her. So
Yeah. And I think I was gonna say, and I think the same could be same about Marcellus. Like I know we're gonna yada yada. Like I think the same could be said about Marcellus. I think it was a very clear indicator. He's like, I don't have any questions for you. Love you both. It's a very clear indicator his mind was already made up. You know. So
yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So yeah, we finish up here with Marcellus and then Jason, who just says, I love you both. Lots of tears. It's very heartwarming. And, we get our final speeches here where we have Lisa first up saying, I came into this house stating that I was going to play this game with my heart. And playing this game with my heart didn't make me a weak player. It made me a different player. And I'm sitting next to Danielle because I brought her here, and I'm happy that I did. Danielle's done some wrong in the game, but it doesn't make her a bad person. It makes her a strong player. And I'm okay sitting next to Danielle. And then she says, I'd like to address you, Jerry, for calling me lucky during the last head of household. I hope that you meant it as a compliment because that's how I took it. I do feel lucky to be sitting in this chair, but I'm also grateful. So that I think reading that back now, that was kind of the moment for me where I'm like, okay, do you really need to be saying that Danielle did some bad things in this game here, but but she's not a bad player. Now that I read it, I take it a lot differently than I originally did. But so we have that, and then we get Danielle saying, "My goal in this house was to be as innocent as a dove and sly as a snake. I know I hurt a lot of you, and I'm a really good person outside of this house. I had so many people that counted on me to make it here. They're my family and in laws. I gave it my all. I'm okay with it. So afterwards, I hope a lot of you guys can forgive me. If you can't, I would totally understand. That's it. That's all. And she just looks completely defeated this entire time. She's like, I swear to you, I am a good person outside of this game. And it's just an interesting thing because this season, this way of playing the game isn't as respected, and so she's really like having to atone for something that I personally do not think she should have to be atoning for. And yeah, it just, this is one of the things that just makes me really, really frustrated with this end game here.
Yeah.
Then get straight to business here. We go to an interview with the jury members. Julie asks Jason if the house guests rubbed off on him in a negative way, with him being a Christian virgin and all, if you didn't know that he was Christian and a virgin at this point. And he says no. He's like, I love all these people. We're a big happy family. Made it so hard to play the game because of how much that I love them all. She asked Josh about when he's going to tie the knot. And he said he's doing it on his own timetable. I do have some follow-ups there on that development.
She asked him when he was gonna make a decent woman out of
Right?
out of what's her name? What something with
Merit.
W. Merit. Yeah. He's like, when are you gonna make a decent woman? I mean,
And then she
honest
corrects
woman.
us. And I don't wanna bring up certain things about Miss Julie Chen Moonves here, but I will say that at this time, I'm pretty sure she was involved with somebody that she shouldn't have been, so in terms of making an honest woman out of someone,
Jesus!
I don't think she should be throwing stones. Let's just say that.
Oh my goodness.
So, but
I mean, no comment. No comment.
right.
Because I don't like to speak ill of Miss Julie Chen
I was
Moonves,
gonna
but
say I love my
uh,
Julie, especially this version of Julie.
I like this version of
yeah,
Julie, but oh God.
yeah,
Okay.
she's a mess.
Yes.
But first,
So, but first,
Did she
so
wait? No, I gotta know. Did she say it at all this season? Because we were watching the finale and we kept waiting for a but first, and I was like, I don't think I heard one. I heard like
I
a
don't
and
recall.
later and now, but I never heard a but first, and I didn't know if you knew if she said it at all. Offhand, do you recall her saying it?
that's a good question. So I'm gonna say no. I'm gonna
Okay.
say no. That might be wrong, but I'm gonna say it
Okay.
because it's such an iconic thing that stands out to you that if you didn't hear it, then
It
yeah, no, she
probably
probably
didn't
didn't
happen.
say it.
Okay.
Like, because immediately that's always what you're waiting for
Yeah.
when she talks, and no, but it doesn't jump out at me, so
Okay.
I don't think she did.
Okay. I was just curious. So,
Maybe Big Brother 6 might be the
mm.
first time I don't know.
I have
It's a
to. I
good
wonder if
question.
somebody. I wonder if somebody knows. Now I'm gonna have to like Google and be like, when did she first say but first?
All right.
All right.
So while you're doing that, I will say that she asks Eric about how watching Lisa from the outside was. He essentially says that it just confirms her character and things that he already thought about her. And then she follows that up by asking Kiara about her relationship with Roddy. And I put, this is the moment that Kiara has officially been friend zoned because she's just going with that same line of, we're going to be great friends and whatever happens after that. And I'm like, what comes after that?
Nothing. Like he is not that into you.
It's
Like
like he's not interested at all.
at all.
Yeah, I was like, what are we doing here? Just leave this studio and do not look back, please, for the love
Yeah.
of God.
Oh my goodness.
So so Jimmy, you alluded to this earlier, but there is so she follows this up by talking to Roddy and asking him about whether or not intentionally using his charm was a type
Mhm.
of deception, and he of course says no,
Oh,
no,
no.
of course not.
Yeah.
And he makes up some BS about like he wanted everyone to see all sides of him and be endeared to him or something like that. So what were your thoughts
But
on this?
just that, just my normal thing about Roddy. Like I dislike him. Like I almost dislike him as much as I dislike Marcellus right now.
Yeah.
But it is just it's he is oblivious to how he was playing this game. And I understand I do get what he's saying, like, hey, I didn't say anything wrong. I didn't do anything evil. Like you never heard me say those things. Like I get that. But I'm just like, he has to be able to acknowledge the perception that you put out here that they're giving. Like, come on, like he is not. He's yeah. But anyway, but I'm really glad that Julie at least asked that question. To like, hey, like you got like you're not stupid. Like you're purposely using this skill to charm these people. And how he treated Amy and using that charm on Amy, when he watched that back, I don't understand how he couldn't see himself as at least in some kind of negative light for using his charm. So,
Or
yeah,
even when he outwardly admitted to using it on Marcellus.
that
Like,
too in the
that's
hot tub.
that's what I'm saying. So like for him to be like, "Oh no, that's different." I'm like, "It's not.
Mhm.
You did better off saying, Julie, I was just playing to my strengths,
You'd have
like
been better off.
but instead he's just like, I don't see it as the same. No, and it honestly, I feel like the reason Roddy feels like he's gaslighting me all the time, and I think that's my
Yeah.
problem. I feel like he's just constantly gaslighting me, and I don't like it. I don't like it at all. So
Asshole. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, it's like he has this perception filter where he perceives himself a certain way, and so he just filters information through and it like you said, it's incredibly narcissistic behavior, like
yeah.
and I he would be the person nowadays. I'm sure maybe he even said this. I didn't dig too deep into like what they were saying after the season, but he would be the person saying, well, you don't see everything on the live feeds, and you can't trust the edit and all of that stuff.
Yeah, 100%.
He would be.
So then we get Julie asking Tanya about the criticism she received. She said, I'm a mom that can have fun, and so to all the haters, it doesn't matter. And then Josh calls her a MILF,
Oh god.
which
I didn't even hear it. Like Winston pointed that out, but I was like, oh yeah.
And
But that's a Josh thing to say,
yep,
though. To be honest with you, to be fair, like that is Josh.
but Jimmy's response was, "Well, that's what she likes to hear. That's what she wants to
right,
hear."
yeah,
But that's I
So,
mean it's her. That is Tanya. Like she's just
right.
she wants to be the sexy mom. She does.
Yeah, and I think she like smacks him and is like, oh, Josh, like,
Yeah.
yeah, she
yeah,
does. She does. It's.
yep.
Ugh.
She definitely
Is it
definitely
a?
liked that.
Was she a stripper or an escort? Did we ever figure it out? Because I thought she was an escort, but
That's the thing. I mean,
No.
Marcellus says that she's a stripper masquerading as a mother, but I don't remember what she
So
did for a
so
living.
she was listed as a stay-at-home mom.
Okay.
mm,
But the problem with that is you're not married. So who the hell is paying for your bills?
Right.
Well, and then she had that guy for that visit, and it just the vibes were off. That guy seemed like he was her client.
So the thing is, though, I was pretty sure that she was married, and that because she says a couple episodes ago when they did a follow-up interview, she says something about being in the process of getting a divorce, and because I also remember from the live feeds that there was a lot of talk about how how Tanya would be talking about like going out to the clubs late at night and leaving her husband with her children. And because I remember Danielle making a comment on the live feeds about, like what an unfit mother that she is, and that's kind of where the whole idea of her having to defend herself as a mother that just likes to have fun kind of came from. So
Okay.
I'm pretty sure she was married.
Okay.
Gotcha. Well, that actually makes more sense then.
Yeah. Oh yeah. She's feeling herself. She's
Exactly, and
feeling her.
trying to get her bearings and figure out what she likes and dislikes. So wow, okay, I should have heard that. Damn. Wow.
So then we get Lori, and then we get Marcellus,
Thank
who
you.
Julie asks if his arrogance lost him the game. And he says no, it was his heart.
His heart.
He's like, if I was arrogant, I would have used the veto. To which I say, no, if you were smart, you would have used the veto.
Yeah.
Is it? But oh my gosh, just yeah. I don't understand him.
Like
I
that's
don't get him.
yeah. I don't get him either. But the more that he talks, I do agree with you that he ain't here to play Big Brother.
He's not. He's not. He's not.
No.
He's not.
You know, and I think his disdain from Danielle comes from the fact that he wants to be the star of the show, and he was humiliated by her
Huh?
on his own show.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Mm-hmm.
100%. Like a
Mm-hmm.
100%. And
because
it probably
oh
hurts
no,
even
no.
worse that she's also another black person. So I think he's
Mm-hmm.
taking it to a whole other level
Oh
that
no.
that she dared to upstage him. That she dared to. I was like, I think it's as much as everybody gives Roddy this, we're giving him this kind of like this edit of a little
No.
bit narcissistic behavior. I think Marcellus has it as well,
Oh yeah.
and I think he just doesn't want to admit that he was being arrogant because he 100% was being arrogant by not using that veto. That was like the
Mm-hmm.
dumbest thing. Like if Julie Chen has to slap you on the back of the head, you know that you
You
did
messed
something
up,
stupid. Yeah,
It's
come
just
on
yeah. It's just
right?
dumb. Yeah. But also, I think he was again another delusion. I think I really think he had no clue that he was going home. I don't
Yeah,
think he was
no,
going. I don't think that was an act. I don't think that was for the show at all. I truly believe that he thought he was going to be able to stay.
right? Yeah, because he was like, why would they vote for me
Mm-hmm.
over Amy, this awful, terrible person that everybody hates, and
Mm-hmm.
everybody loves me?
Yeah. And she
So
left the house and came back. Like, why wouldn't you? So
yeah,
yeah.
now.
yeah, yeah, these are the types of players on Big Brother that annoy me, that just come for the fame, and then similarly, just do this morality play, and it's like, no, the reason that you're out of the house isn't because this person is mean and awful and terrible. It's because you made a stupid choice,
Mm-hmm.
and you need to take responsibility for that. It's nobody's fault but yours. And I the entire time that I was watching like the jury deliberations, I was thinking in my head, God, I wish I was in that room with them, because I would have just taken them all to task. I I would have been the Dr. Will leading the jury Q&A and just roasting them all. So
Yeah.
but I was 6 years old, so
It's fair.
couldn't do anything at the time.
It's fair.
So yeah, so then we end with Amy, but I wrote that I care even less what Amy has to say.
Yeah.
So we'll just end it there, and
Yeah.
we come to the moment of truth. We have them go into the house and read off the votes one by one, and so before we talk about the result, what do you guys think of the way of doing the vote reveal here?
I did like this. I did like the idea of them coming back into the house and sitting there and like pulling their keys out to reveal their votes, one by one. I think now it is more so to justify the cost of Julie Chen, Moonves, like by having her pull out the keys. Um, but I definitely do like this method of them coming in and then revealing their votes. I thought that that was really really nice touch.
So I
Yeah,
like them
yeah,
coming into the house. I do think that's great because it was pretty cool to kind of see their reactions to the house, and obviously time has passed, so I think that was pretty cool. But I am not a fan of them revealing their results. I love the Julie Chan way, Moonves way. Like I love it, you let them go in, they put their key in and let her be the one to pull it out and do the official. And so, because for me, what happens is what happened on this one. You go through the votes and up front versus this big whatever that Julie does, And then, of course, at the end of all, she still reads all the votes. But I'm like, this time it wasn't, for me, it wasn't as grand.
yeah. I'm somewhere in the middle where I do like the idea of them coming back into the house. I like the idea of this kind of big reunion of people. I do feel like it loses a little bit of its kind of like pomp and circumstance. There's not a lot of fanfare. It's just kind of like Julie has a specific delivery
Hmm.
that builds kind of the suspense of the vote raid here, and it's similar to the way that they have been editing competitions throughout the season, where it's like the vote count is over pretty dang fast. Where you're like, "Oh, Lisa, congratulations, you won, yay!" And so
Yeah.
was there. So talking about the vote count itself, I think by this point we kind of all watching this knew at this point Danielle's probably losing here, but
Yeah.
were there any votes here that surprised any of you?
Josh and Jerry.
Right. Okay.
I was really, really shocked, and a little bit of Amy, but mainly Josh and Jerry. I really thought the two of them were going to at least vote for Danielle. Like I just knew that was going to be in the bag for her. Those two.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I knew the outcome of this game so ahead of time, but I didn't know the votes. I didn't know the intimate details. So
Right.
this is my first time seeing the actual vote reveal.
Yeah.
Um, was definitely like in just complete disbelief that it was such a blowout.
Yeah.
Don't but in retrospect, like now that I've had time to kind of digest it, I'm like, I mean, it makes sense. It was telegraphed pretty much from the onset of like the episode that like she's not taking this once we started to really get into things. But to be that bad of a blowout when you played such a great game,
Mhm.
I looked over at Jimmy and his jaw was just dropped. Like he was just like, because again, he didn't know the outcome of
Oh
the
yeah.
game. I knew the outcome of the game, so I knew what was coming. So like watching your reaction, I was like, this is it was thrilling to me, honestly, watching your reactions to this. But then also having the reaction myself of it being like, oh wow, it's like 9 votes, Lisa, 1 vote, or whatever. Like it's a
Yeah.
huge amount of votes towards like Lisa, and then just one for Danielle, and nobody else put the respect on her name that she deserved. So it was, I was like, wow.
Yeah, I was also so the first time that I watched it, I think I knew the result going into it, but I was shocked specifically, like you said, with Josh's vote and then Jerry's vote, because Jerry also seemed to understand
Hmm.
that it was a game, from week one. It seemed like he understood that. It seemed like he understood Danielle in particular. So, but kind of like you said, Winston, the more that I thought about it and thought about the different groups of people, like, the numbers started to add up in Lisa's favor there. So, but I remember just a couple episodes ago when Jimmy was like, oh, the season is just predictable at this point. Like, we know what's going to happen. And I'm just sitting there
I
like, oh, you have no idea what's
yeah.
coming.
I know. It took so hard to not say anything all this time. Like
uh,
I gotta say, you gotta give me props. I've done really
you
well
did.
in not giving this
You
away.
did.
Normally, I'm like, I kind of like, do you really want to know? I can tell you. Like I'm like, oh, but I've done. I did not try to bring it up so you would not have this ruined for you. And just watching your reaction was absolutely like priceless. I think so. Thank you, Noah, for
So,
getting him to do this, so I could see
but
that.
it was natural, thank God. But my problem with it is
Yeah,
this chick has done nothing all season.
yeah.
All season. You've done nothing. And then you win? Like, what the hell? Like, how does it how does it happen other than luck? Like, other than luck, like, how does it happen? And so, yeah, I am not okay with this win. I am
Yeah.
not for Danielle. We talked about this early on. I had a problem with trying to like place Danielle. I didn't know
Facing out. Yep.
how to put her. But I'm not a fan. I wanted Jason to win
Excuse me.
all day long. I've been voting and I wanted Jason. And I definitely think that had either one of them, Danielle or Lisa, taken Jason to the end, Jason would have won, like hands down. And so at least that's my opinion. But I'm really frustrated that Lisa has done nothing and has gotten rewarded for doing nothing.
Yeah. So I do, but before we wrap up here, I do want to kind of talk about the legacy of
Mhm.
this season. The legacy of Danielle's game, the legacy of Lisa's game. So I will, now that we have reached the end of the season here, I can tell you that we do see Danielle again. She comes back in Big Brother All Stars, the
Oh,
first one,
nice.
alongside Marcellus.
Mhm.
Yeah. And so, so you don't have the knowledge of her game in that season, but finishing Big Brother 3 here, what is kind of the takeaway that you had from Danielle here?
So overall, I think she played a really good game. If we're talking again just gameplay, I would honestly say she was robbed. I would truly say that hands down. I would say she was robbed. She was strategic the entire way. She knew who she wanted to be aligned with. She knew how to escape around the different questions. She had it and took her person to the end. That doesn't necessarily happen, at least to be the final three. That doesn't always happen. And so I'm like, you did that and you end up being in the final two. Hands down, I'm all for her in regards to gameplay. The only thing is, I wish she would not have played that motherly role
Yeah,
for the house. Looking at it overall, I really because and I know she was trying to be the funny person. And Jerry hinted at it early on as well that she would, take out these like, playing the black card, playing the mother
yeah.
card. Like she was playing all of these cards, but I think she just dug in too deep on that motherly bond with every last one of them, and it is disheartening to know that could have been her downfall. So bless her heart.
Yeah, I think so too, because I think that I think with mothers in this game that they typically do fall into the parent role of the household where it's kind of hard to break that once people see you as a mother. And I do think as a black woman that she is also like
Hmm.
even more in that role,
Hmm.
you know, unfairly so, but
Yep.
it is something that we've seen time and time again with, other mothers, other black women in this show that, they have this perception of them that is very hard for them to break. I I think to your point, Danielle plays into it a little bit and maybe a little too hard to the point where that plays into the morality of like, okay, well, if I see you as a mother, you wouldn't stab your kids in the back.
Hmm.
And so if you do that, then probably not a great mother. So, but I don't know that I've made a good secret of the fact that I am a Danielle fan all the way. I ride for her 100%. So I think she's one of the best that we have seen play this game, and it is very unfortunate that she played in this particular season where her particular style of gameplay couldn't have been appreciated. So, uh, Winston, what are your thoughts on her kind of legacy here?
Yeah, so I'll admit I've seen the All Star season, but
Hmm.
I'd never seen this season.
Yeah,
So didn't quite have an investment in her in the All Star season. Of course, I
right.
came to play for Janelle. I'm a
Yeah,
big Janelle fan. I think what Janelle's one of the best to ever do it, right? Um, so I gotta say I'm a big fan of Danielle after this, as far from a gameplay perspective. And what was really eye opening for me was to see how some people behind her or after her have really, I think, studied her gameplay. I think she has many children in the game. Like when I look at what Tiffany did with the cookout, when I look at what Chelsea just ran through and completed, when I look at what Sari attempted, like I see these shades of Danielle in them. And so like imitation's like the most sincerest form of flattery, right? And so
right.
like I generally think she set the standard for how black women play this game. And a good game. Or I mean, it's a strategic game
That's
because
right.
obviously in the terms of this season, she didn't play a good game. She played an evil game. But I think she really like I am a fan of her gameplay in this season. To the point where I almost wish she didn't come back and play All Stars, you know?
Right. Yeah.
Because I think she should have let this stand as the testament of her work. Like she did an
Yeah.
amazing job. I hate that she was robbed. And so I do kind of have a question. I don't know if I'm allowed to kind of like spill this bean or not, but I do have a question since we're talking about Danielle. And I guess the question is,
Yeah.
do you think if the jury had been sequestered and we had a jury limit, as we do later on,
Yeah.
do you think she would have won this season? Do you think it would have made any difference?
I I still contend that it would have made some difference. I know Danielle herself has said that it wouldn't. I think Marcellus has said himself that it wouldn't have made a difference, but I don't trust anything Marcellus says.
Yeah.
Because I think it just when when you are locked in that house
Hmm.
and your perception of things is only based on the information that you either yourself obtain or are getting from other people, that you are going to have a very different reaction to certain actions that are taken in the game. And I don't necessarily think that if the jury had been sequestered, that they would have had such a bad taste in their mouth because they would have only had so much information. it is possible that, you know, Roddy still would have been just as heated against her as he was, and maybe it doesn't change anything. But I do think that there may have been a better chance of her winning. But what do you think, Jimmy?
Actually, I agree with you on that 100%, minus the Roddy portion. I think Roddy would not have seen any of that.
Yeah.
And,
Okay.
unless somebody in the house while they were sequestered would have said that, then
Mhm.
he would have had, no, insight into that. But yeah, no, no, no. I think she could have won it, or probably would have. I definitely think that outcome would have been different. I really do.
Yeah. I don't know if she would have won, but I think she would have ended up with more votes for
Yeah.
sure than what she got in the end. I don't know if it would have made a difference, but I honestly get why the change was made after I've seen this. So I'm glad that I got a chance to see this because I'm like, this is the idea that you can sit and just and of course you're also at the mercy of editing. Like once you leave the
Mhm.
house, if you're not in
Yep.
sequester, you're at the mercy of whatever CBS and Allison and everybody else want us to see, right? It's not necessarily unless you're I mean you're on the feeds too, but they can cut the feeds. They can, there's all these things that can be done. So I don't know. I just was very curious after seeing it. Like, okay, do we think it would have made any difference? But um, I do think it would have made. I think she would have gotten more votes. I don't know if she would have won, but I think she would have gotten more votes. I truly do think that. So, yeah.
Yeah. No, I think it's an interesting kind of conversation there. I know that people have different thoughts on it. In terms of the diary room, or in terms of the move by production to create the jury house, I wanted to ask you guys, do you think that that was because Danielle lost, or do you think it was because they realized that the diary rooms had played such a significant part on the season that they didn't want people coming into Big Brother 4 not wanting to essentially say anything or be truthful in the DR because they're afraid of what people are going to be able to see when they leave the house.
If we look at this entire season as a whole, just in general,
Mhm.
it is apparent that they are trying to figure a lot of shit out. It
Yeah.
is apparent, and they're just trying things. And so I wouldn't say that Danielle was probably the cause of it. I think somebody probably just had an idea and said, let's try this and see what happens. At least it's my thoughts.
I think I'm leaning more towards the no. I said I don't think it is directly in response to Danielle, as more so it was in response to how do we prevent Dr. Will change the game with winning, right? And I think part of it is, because he was the Richard Hatch of Survivor in a sense. And I think part of it was, part of it was him with strategy as well. But I think when they realized that, like, I think, I don't want to say again because of Danielle, but I truly believe that by not sequestering the jury and allowing them to sit with whatever narrative that they want, again, from those DRs and all of those things, I think they realized they put the game at risk. It put them at greater risk of repeated outcomes, right? And then
Mm.
TV become and then repeated outcomes means less people watching because they're like, okay, this is wrapped in the bag. We know how this is gonna go because the good person is gonna win over the evil person, right? And I think it would. I don't know if it was directly in response to Danielle as more so as them assessing overall just like how can we keep this game fresh and and I think it was a part of it, but I think it was just a sum of like Jimmy said, all the parts, right? There was a lot of experimentation happening. um but I think it makes sense because they can go out into the world. They can also like if I'm evicted and I'm not in a jury house, I can go out and do interviews. I can talk about things. I may be able to spill the beans on things that haven't aired yet, right? Like I think there's a lot of different pieces of it that I think kind of go into it. Um, but I do think that was the outcome overall was a big factor. I think probably even production was just like Lisa. Like, and I was gonna say it's more so in response to. I would actually say it's more so in response to Lisa winning than Danielle losing, right?
Right.
Like
But you know what? You said that when Julie was interviewing the two of them, it was just like, "Are you surprised to be here?" And she almost said, "Are you surprised that Danielle didn't win?"
Yeah, she was literally about
Yeah.
to say, "Are like she literally said, that, are you surprised, Danielle? I mean, are you surprised, Lisa?" Like it was like she had to fix her train of thought because even
Yeah.
Julie was like, "Well, now what? Now wait a damn minute, like Lisa."
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Yeah, we blew right over that final interview, but
No,
yeah,
it was yeah. It was there was nothing there.
yeah, it was very much like Winston said, where it was just like, it didn't feel like Lisa could really revel in the moment as much as the focus was on Danielle losing. So,
It really was. I think Julie kept even. I told Jimmy, Julie keeps making a point to say, you played a great game, but she's like looking at Danielle when she's saying it, and like it's all these moments where you keep seeing Julie kind of reassuring, you played a great game, you've done an amazing thing. It's like it really, if I was Lisa, I would feel so humbled because like my win is literally an afterthought. Like my win is an afterthought to Danielle losing.
yep,
So
absolutely. And, I well, know we're running a bit long here, but I do want to give Lisa some flowers and
Oh,
some credit here because I do think she is probably I think she's a strong social player and I know that I really do I think the reason that I think that is because I just like she was able to make nice with people. She was able to, she's not an active strategic force, but I do think there is something about her. Like, yes, she mostly wins because she isn't Danielle, but I do think there is something about her that people kind of like a little bit. And so I do think if she had come back in Big Brother All Stars that I don't think she would have won, but I do think that eh, she could have potentially made it far. So I will give her at least a little bit of credit here since this is her winning
no,
season. So
that's
I'm
that's
sorry. I'm just gonna say she gives me Sandra from Survivor vibes.
wow, okay.
Like in the sense of like I'm just here. I'm just here.
no,
Like I'm just
Okay,
here.
no.
Sandra,
Now
no.
you're not gonna do that to her. Now that I won't take. I won't take that. Oh hell no.
Okay. Well, then this isn't a Survivor podcast, so
Oh,
we're
No,
gonna.
no, she's more like a Natalie White.
That's fair. That's
okay.
fair.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Mm-mm, mm-mm.
All right.
Well,
Well,
congratulations, Lisa. There are my flowers.
congratulations, Lisa. Yeah, she she won the game. She won the guy, even though
She did.
uh, that relationship lasted a solid week.
Oh wow.
Afterwards?
Yeah, it lasted a week.
Oh wow.
She traded him in for Marcellus. She started. I think she moved to Los Angeles and started hanging out with Marcellus more after they realized that her and Eric wasn't going to be a thing. So that was a
Wow.
short-lived thing.
A
Um,
week? Damn.
a week.
Damn.
From what I remember from Big Brother 4, because they do that like catch up with the house guests segment thing. I do know, of course, Kiara and Roddy do not make it.
Oh
Kiara does
no.
end up getting engaged at some point. I don't know to who. I know it's not Roddy. I don't know if it went anywhere. And I also know that Josh and Merritt eventually call off their engagement.
They were never were they ever engaged?
He does, yeah, they do get engaged,
Oh,
but
okay.
they end up calling off their engagement.
Shocker.
Well,
Yeah,
I mean, Josh was something serious, so that's just ridiculous. I don't know who would ever take him seriously,
right.
And even with Eric, I mean, he left his other girlfriend for her, quote unquote. Like he had
Yep,
somebody at home,
yep,
like when he came to the show.
yep.
So, you know, yeah, wow.
Yeah.
Mm.
So that is, I think, gonna do it. That is Big Brother 3. Unless you guys have some final thoughts on the season, I think if you're looking for some more Danielle content, now is the time that I can tell you, if you don't already know, that she was on the most recent season of The Traitors. And so if you want to see her play that game, oh boy, was she just as divisive as she was on this season.
Well, no
So
spoilers because we gotta watch it. Yeah,
I will
we gotta
not give
watch
you
it.
any spoilers, but I do have a little tidbit connected to Big Brother 3 that once you watch it, you gotta let me know, because I I have a little bit of tea.
Okay.
So
Okay.
yeah.
Got it.
All
Okay. Okay.
right. So all right, well, I think that is going to do it for this season of the Jury House podcast. So, do we want to go ahead and plug all of our stuff? All right, I will open the floor to you then, Jimmy.
All righty. Well, as always, if you want to be continued to be inspired by me, just go to inspiredbyjimmy.com and all social media as well. That's inspired by Jimmy L.
All right, Winston, do you have anything that you want to plug?
I'm just gonna plug Jimmy's stuff. So yeah, make sure you follow Inspired by Jimmy L. And if you ever are just curious about some of our other stuff, we do have a podcast that's out there in the ether. If you're a fan of One Tree Hill, we have a whole podcast where we talked about every episode of that. So that's still out there, living out there. Got always. I'm still paying for that site, so I got to still plug it. There's only One Tree Hill podcast if you're interested, and then Brunch Binge, where we at least covered all the seasons of True Blood. So that's out there. So yeah, that's it. That's all I got.
All right. Well, I will go ahead and plug my stuff and say that if you want, you can follow me on. I mean, you can follow me on Twitter. I'm still there at Noah Masay. You can follow me on Blue Sky the at noahmasay.bsky.social. If you want to follow the Jury House podcast, on Blue Sky, we're on Instagram, we're also on Twitter. I'll put all of that information in the description so you know where to find it. And yeah, this has been a really fun project. I am glad that we were able to do this. I am glad that Winston was able to join us for a supersized edition of the Jury House podcast. And, you know, you guys are going to have to stay tuned for what's next, because we don't know. So, but we will keep you updated. Until then, see you later.
See ya.
Nice.